was just
Welcome.
talking. Yeah, it's good to see you guys. Yeah, I have no idea what that question was. Do you want to repeat it? I'm so sorry, I didn't get the full
I was
context.
just I was just basically asking. Everybody struggles with algorithms, Twitter algorithms, to get the most out of the tweets and everything else that we do on here. But what are the benefits for following all these rules?
A multitude of them, mostly having to do with organic reach. So following an algorithm basically is a means of bypassing the need to go out and seek out content yourself. In other words, that's kind of that's kind of an ironic statement, because in order to initially train your algorithm, what I do recommend is searching out specific pieces of content that are relevant to your target audience. But when you have trained the algorithm basically does all of that for you, because what the algorithm will start to do is um, relate your account to your target audience, automatically speaking, and that increases your organic reach and effectively snowballs based on your ability to have good content, use good keywords, and then, like, with the sprinkling in of things like good hashtag research and stuff like that. Effectively, what you can do is go straight to your target audience, monetize whatever you want to monetize, and or whatever any of your platform goals might be, which is a lot to say, and we can absolutely break that down if you'd like to.
I was gonna say, so that's a really good answer. But let's kind of start at the top and kind of just do a basic run through. Maybe start with like profile and PFP consistency. Biography. What should we bio have, and then like your pin post and the importance there. And then like your banner. Just kind of do like the rookie run through, and then if we get to the end and everybody has questions, then we'll approach that. But let's kind of go through a quick rundown so that you're not doing circles all evening.
You got it. Also, hi everybody. I guess I should introduce myself too real quick for
But
anybody who's new.
absolutely.
They're like, why the heck is this lady talking to me and what? Hi, I am an educator within the space. My platform is based on free access education, because I believe, at least, educational information in particular, should not have a damn paywall. So that's why I like to host these spaces where I get to talk about applicable complex topics like the algorithm, all of which I have done original research on. So I write workbooks, as well as content like worksheets, that you can find in my Discord in particular. So if anybody's eyes go cross, or you're like, oh my God, how the heck do I identify my target audience? And we don't talk about things like that. I've got you. I do have worksheets in my Discord. Please go download those, and that will help you sort through a lot of the topics that we'll be talking about tonight. Um, so yeah, that's what I do. Hello, hi. Sorry for being late again. Thank you so much. And also, it's good
Oh,
to be
no.
here, AI. Like, thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing your knowledge. Yeah, no, this is a pretty relaxed space, so the time delay is not a problem at all. It actually kind of gave us a chance to get a little organized.
Yay, good. Okay. And also, hi AI art community. It's good to see you guys. I talk to Soma all the time. She is just a blessing and a love, and I just always enjoy this community in particular so much. And I see Kevin down there too. I haven't connected with you in a minute, Kevin, but I am so impressed with with what you've done for the community. Thank you so much. Um, okay, so getting straight into some of the basics, then let's talk about your profile. Um, your profile is basically how you start off with some like super duper basic branding elements. I do recommend that most artists, most creators, most entities within the space actually do some of their branding homework. Again, I've got worksheets if you're interested in that. specifically because identifying things like your values and your mission and things like that helps to answer a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about, such as how the heck do I write a profile? How do I identify my target audience? And even boils down to how to price your NFTs as well. So if you're interested in doing that, I'm happy to talk more about that. But one of the ways to bypass that is to start thinking about your profile. And your Twitter profile is composed of, and I will fight you on this, specifically because it involves your pinned tweets. Your profile anatomy is going to be your banner, your avatar. Excuse me. I just don't want to skip over one. Yeah, your banner, your profile image or your avatar, your name, as well as your tag, your bio, location also matters, the website, and your pinned tweet specifically. All of those things need to or should at least reflect your platform goals, so your goals on Twitter, as well as whatever goal you might have right now. So part of the reason that I think your pinned tweet should reflect your platform goals and maybe a goal that you have right now specifically is because you will find specific and different opportunities as specific days pass with your experience on Twitter. So, for example, hello, I am right now in the AI art community, and you guys might not know a ton about my platform or what I offer. So if I am in front of a new community, if I was smart and actually did my own marketing, what I would do is change my pinned tweet to something like my Patreon, for example. Or if I sold NFTs, then whatever my NFT project is, so that if you within a space are interested in me because of what I'm talking about, you're probably going to go to my profile and you're probably going to look at my pinned tweet. And because of that massive exposure that your pinned tweet in particular has, you should think about writing multiple tweets and then switching it up based on whatever opportunities that you have in the space. Um, just to apply that to what's going on within the space right now, what's very popular is to go into these shill spaces. Now, the commentary on shill spaces aside, what happens in a shill space is that obviously you talk to people about whatever your project is. And because usually what happens in those spaces is that you pin a particular tweet up to the top, making that very discoverable. But why would you want to keep your pin tweet that then? Because if people are interested in your content, um, if people are interested in your content, not only are they seeing the same tweet within the space, but there's also they're going to see that in the pin tweet as well, and there's not a lot of value there. So instead of showing people the exact same tweet, haha, what if you had another pin tweet that was ready for them about like an upcoming project or another project that you have or any other goal that you might have on Twitter? So by managing that pin tweet and making sure that that reflects your platform goals as well as any opportunity that you might have in the space, that absolutely increases the chances of those goals being recognized. Realize that I just hyper focused on pinned tweets. Are there, before I get into like bios and things like that, are there any questions there?
I don't have any specific questions, but I would like everybody in the room to go ahead and hit that blue feather down at the bottom and retweet the space and try to get a good audience in here. And then if anybody else would like to ask a specific question to that, Pharma, Eclectic, either of you guys? Silence, I guess.
No,
Oh,
no, no.
I had
Just
something like retweet related, but it's a little offside from exactly what she was talking about. So I was going to wait till later to maybe cover that.
yep. Sounds like a plan. Eclectic?
yeah, I was just absorbing everything she was saying, and I do get what she's getting at. So with the like, I actually pay for Twitter Blue. So what I'm doing right now, based on what you said, is I'm going to create a separate folder for different pinned tweets that I can use going forward. This way, depending on where I am, what I'm doing, I could reach into one of those saved pins and put that as the current, and then use that and then go flip flop back and forth depending on what I need to do. Is that what you were referring to?
That is a perfectly amazing idea. Yes. Usually, what I recommend doing is having something about your project, something that introduces you as an artist, as well as, again, any other goals or conversions that you might have in mind. And yes, saving those as bookmarks so that you can quickly change it is a great idea. Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you.
I would say the floor is all yours again.
Okay. So let's go into the bio real quick then. Um, the bio I have a specific rubric for. I actually haven't posted it anywhere. And I desperately need to. But basically what I recommend doing, and again, this is a rubric, not something that everybody needs to follow specifically because we all have different goals and we all have very different voices, tones, and needs on the space. And to that, I also want to make sure that within your marketing, your branding, etc., that what I'm saying up here, if there needs to be some management, some liquidity, but not in the financial sense, flexibility. There we go. Any flexibility in what I'm saying, please make sure that your voice is being heard within your marketing and not mine. So if anything needs to be modified, please do that. And if you have any questions on how to modify something that I can help with, please let me know. Please ask. Um, okay, so my rubric for one artist specifically is, I really need to illustrate this because this is hard to just like talk about. The rubric that I have for a bio is have a hook first. A hook is usually a condensed, very, very dense way of communicating, if you're clever, not only who you are as an artist, but it also represents your art. For example, Coco underscore NFTs has an amazing hook within her bio that says starry eyed illustrator. And that reflects not only who she is, but her art, because she's very involved in astrology and spirituality personally, but also within her art. It has a lot of like starry elements. It's very vibrant and obviously an illustration as well. So what's so effective about that is that by having a hook, you aren't telling people exactly who you are. You're leaving some sort of like mystery there that makes people want to read the rest of your bio. And by doing that, by doing that, I'm repeating myself. By doing that, it gains interest. It rather manufactures interest in the rest of your bio, as well as sends people to your pin tweet because of that interest. So, first thing I recommend doing: have a very short, condensed means, or hook rather, of communicating who you are as well as your art, if we're clever about it. The second part is actually that like literal identifier. So whatever you do within the space, follow up that hook and that air of mystery with whatever it is you do, literally speaking. So if you are a photographer, then you would follow it up with like undersea water photographer or something like that. An AI artist might say literally just AI artist, or whatever genre you have. So like, I don't know, macabre horror artist, digital artist, something to that effect. I'm so sorry, I'm not familiar enough with AI genre enough to really speak on that. Actually, do you have what are the specific genres that you can add that would be like super literal AI?
There aren't a ton, to be honest.
Okay.
So like on mine, I think I've listened to you a few times. So like mine starts out like Family Art Ocean, and then The Ghost in the Collab, animations, microfilm, movie, AI, NFT collector, NFT artist, and then I do have two hashtags, and so I think I've listened to tried to model it as the best I could around what you had said. I don't know if I'm anywhere in the right ballpark.
That's okay. Um, it looks like family art ocean like three separate thoughts or three separate identifiers, or do you mean that to be a hook?
Originally there was actually underscores between them, and then it's has been changed. So I change mine every so often.
Okay. Because usually what we want the hook to be is again this like condensed means of like adding some sort of mystery to who you are within the space, and
Okay.
then follow it up with very literal identifiers. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So if
Yes.
you wanted to, usually what I do with my clients is I will literally just have them talk for 3 to 5 minutes about what they do, and I'll pick out keywords. And those keywords, when fashioned together, sometimes with the use of a thesaurus, will find that complex identifier. I don't know if that's something that you're interested in doing for your account in this space, but just to give everybody a sort of workflow of what I do when we're writing the perfect bio, is yeah, like if you have a friend that will just listen to you spew out everything that you do, and then pick out those keywords, that's definitely a very effective means of not only condensing your value, but picking out those specific identifiers.
Kino,
So the
sorry. I
Go ahead.
remember I was in one of your other spaces, and I remember you talking about this. And right after that session that you had, I went and I made some changes to my bio, and it did make a difference. Um, I started picking up followers that I probably wouldn't have picked up had I not made some of the changes that I made. And I think one of them was I added Spaces co-host. Now I'm not sure why, but I think that was probably one of the things in there that made a bit of a difference as to how people look at your bio. Like one of the first things I put in there, just based on what you said now, the hook, I put from dreams to art. So because of my stuff, I do quite a bit of stuff that like with regards to nightmares. So those who know me, so that's why I put from dreams to art. But that spaces co-host that you had mentioned in one of the other spaces did seem to make a difference. So I'm definitely a believer in these tweaks that you're encouraging us to make. So I
I'm
appreciate
so
that.
happy. I'm so happy to hear that. Yay, 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 yay. So you're actually hitting on keywords specifically, and that is like the social media marketing goes really deep. We're really only talking about a lot of very surface value elements. But keywords is like getting down the rabbit hole a little bit. Do you want me to talk about that?
Sure.
Of course, I would. I'm not sure.
Okay. You got it. So keywords is something that again, like I don't get to talk about that much in spaces, because it's a little too far down the rabbit hole. But um, so let me talk. How do I want to start this? I usually start out with hashtags. You know what? Let's just go down the rabbit hole. A lot of people think that hashtags have algorithmic relevancy. In other words, if you use hashtags, then it's going to somehow influence the algorithm. And hi, I'm here to tell you that that's not true. What hashtags do is improve your searchability rather than really do anything that influences the algorithm directly. What it does do algorithmically is passive, however. So, by affecting, let me back up real quick. Sorry. So, when somebody is searching for a hashtag on Twitter, if your hashtag is available within a tweet, then based on the engagement that that tweet gets, your tweet will rank higher or lower within the search bar, not in the algorithm, but within that search bar. And because somebody has searched for, let's just say, NFT community. So if somebody has searched for NFT community and your post is heavily engaged, it's going to pop up at the top. Now, because that person has searched for NFT community and you have this like beautiful, engaging tweet, they're going to hopefully engage with it. And because very specifically of the engagement on that tweet, that is what's going to have algorithmic relevancy. The engagement specifically is what does it with the algorithm, not the searchability. The engagement does. Um, and then, so I'm sorry, putting that away. So hashtags have searchability, not algorithmic. But let's talk about keywords. So keywords, let's go down the rabbit hole. I'm so sorry. I'm so excited about this. Keywords, very specifically within your bio as well as your tweets, are basically, if anybody's familiar with SEO, it's a very similar concept to SEO. What it does basically is help to train the algorithm to relate your content to specific words. Um, and you can see this in action with my tweets, really. I don't post a lot of my own photography because my account is very heavily related to marketing. And because the algorithm isn't trained for photography, that means that if I post anything that has photography related language, the algorithm isn't going to boost that content because I haven't shown that there's interest with my audience for that type of content. So if I wanted to train my algorithm passively, albeit, but still very effective, if I wanted to train it passively towards more photography related interest, that means that I would want to start using words and jargon that is related to photography. And what's kind of cool about AI art is that the AI art community is growing. I mean, exponentially. It's nuts how fast you guys are growing. And you also have a lot of algorithmic relevancy too, which makes your job a lot easier. So by using AI art, just AI art as a keyword, as well as identifiers like I don't know, macabre horror or abstract or something like that. Effectively, as your community grows, what you'll start to see happening is more and more of a divide, algorithmically speaking, between your community and your niches, which is a good thing and a bad thing. We can like dive into that if we really wanted to. But effectively, in conclusion, keywords in your bio as well as your tweets can help you train the algorithm by making sure that you are relating specific keywords to your target audience. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And I did make some of those changes based on your last space. I add the word AI to many of my tweets when I can. My pinned definitely has AI in there quite a bit because I remember you saying that those type of keywords are what's going to bring the people to you. So even on the right side of the panel where it shows who to follow, that those are the people that start to show up who are also sort of related to AI, and they'll start bringing those people to your forefront. So I started doing that as well. But a bit of advice to anybody in here: when I was in the space previously with her, I started making these changes while she was talking so that I wouldn't forget. So if there's anybody interested in doing that, this is a good time to start making some of these changes, and then you can run with it after that and see if there's any difference in what you've done.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
curious. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, everybody should be taking notes. Follow Kino and most of the panel, and everybody that hasn't, please retweet the space.
Joe, I'm such an asshole. I swear to God, I have smashed follow on you like 5 times. I have this like propensity of smashing follow on people, and it's like before the page even loads. I'm an asshole. I'm following you right now. I'm so sorry.
No worries, no worries.
So when you say to include the keywords in your tweets, um, instead of giving an image or a video a title that you post, you would want to describe it or have your title and then have some keywords that relate to it. Is that correct?
Have keywords that so it's twofold technically. You want those keywords to reflect the target audience that you have with your account. Um, but if you are within a specific niche, you should make sure that you are not either overtraining the algorithm or training it to in a direction that might be a little bit too niche. For example, if you were like a macabre AI artist, if you hit on macabre or horror or something like that too often, you might actually be pigeonholing yourself a little bit too much inside of that niche. So make sure that you are affecting like broader keywords specific. Like I say that for AI art because AI art again is safe. But if you're a photographer within the space or within a much broader community, then it's more okay to hit upon those niche keywords. Does that answer your question?
I think so. So yeah, you do want to include some of those keywords, but you probably don't want to use the same ones over and over again, or you'll get kind of pigeonholed in just that one section. So you want to change it up over time.
Yeah, just be careful about getting too niche. And you can also tell if you're getting a little bit too niche just by seeing what's on your timeline. Especially, I'm sorry, not just what's on your timeline, but on your timeline at the very top left of a lot of tweets, it will say things like based on your likes or somebody retweeted this. And it's basically the algorithm feeding you content to try and make sure that it is trained in a direction that you want it to be. But if you pay attention to the type of content that it is feeding you, you can make sure that you're not overtraining or that you're training it in a direction that you don't necessarily want it to be. And also the who to follow, I think is what Eclectic touched on earlier. Who to follow is also a way of just making sure and checking in on your algorithm and making sure that it's not like trained in a direction that you don't want it to be.
Plague, do you have a question before she continues?
I do. Here, 1 second. My daughter just ran in to say something. 1 second.
No problem.
It's good to be here, friends. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming and spending your evening with us.
Anytime.
Kay, do
All
you have a
right.
question? Oh, never mind. Plague, go ahead.
Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, this is really interesting. I do know SEO. I've built quite a few websites in the past, but I guess looking at social media, it's always an interesting thing to look at algorithms and trying to find. Oh, actually, Girly Pie, those aren't clean. Give me 1 second, okay? Sorry, guys. But it's interesting because I've never been able to quite figure out how to not necessarily just niche down on one specific thing and try to make all my keywords and everything work because I have so many different things that I like to do. I have like 3 different Instagram accounts. I have one Twitter. I've tried so many different things just between photography and sculpting and creation. And so it's really interesting for someone like me with my Twitter account. Do you find that just by refining those things that it would work to sorry 1 second.
I think he's going to talk about
I'm
community
so
hub.
sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm so sorry.
It's
Totally
Every time I
we're a
get
lot
on
of us
like
are parents. You're okay.
like every time I go to make a phone call or something, it's the same thing. So I was just gonna say, with someone like me, I have so many different things I like to do, and I'm always tempted to share them. In like, I first started this Twitter account specifically for NFTs, and I'm like, man, I would love to share my photography with some of these people too, because I see that they like that. Do you find that is detrimental to an account to be sharing other things, or should I find something and stick with it?
I think it's detrimental to accounts that are not intentional. I think and fully believe that you as an artist should be able to use the full breadth of your voice and artistic value. And unfortunately, platforms like Instagram really do not allow that. So I'm glad to hear that you do have those three accounts on Instagram. But I do recognize that that is just a massive pain in the ass to, maybe I shouldn't say bad words if there's children. It's a huge
You're
pain in the
fine.
butt. It's a huge pain in the butt, and very time consuming. And when it comes to mental health and making sure that, you know, the monetization of your art is effective, we also want to make sure that you have time for your family and other things too, instead of being on social media all of the time. Why I'm saying that is that I'm very optimistic about Twitter and Twitter's algorithm. It is by far one of the friendliest platforms on social media, specifically because it has very heavy relational value. And what I mean by that is that, algorithmically speaking, nobody has to follow you in order to see your content. If you are very intentional about how you train the algorithm, as well as how you market yourself, then we don't need to spend 20 hours a day on Twitter. And the full breadth of and scope of your portfolio has a much easier time breathing on a platform like Twitter than it does Instagram. So the reason that, or rather, let me back up. Usually, I recommend that people who are new to marketing, and new to platform growth and, having monetization goals. My ADHD just like blacked out on me. I don't remember what I was saying. I usually recommend that you start with two different niches, just so you can start. Just so you can start practicing, with your marketing, your voice and tone, rather than, because what I see a lot of artists do, especially if they have a multitude of genres, is that they will literally just post anything and just try to see what's going to stick. And what I would encourage people to do is back up a little bit from that. Figure out what the value is, that what your value is going to be within the space, and then start to capitalize on that specifically. If it is going to be like expertise within digital art, photography, if you want to leverage your portfolio, do what I do and educate people, like whatever your value is within the space, however you want to contribute to the community, I would hit on that very heavily, while also making sure that you are managing your personal voice and tone and just getting used to marketing in that way, which I just said a lot, and we can break that down if you would like to. But what I usually recommend in conclusion is start with two. But if you feel like you need your full scope to be on the timeline, I would just make sure that you have intentionality behind what you're posting, when you're posting, and making sure that, if you have a personal brand, then leveraging your personality to make sure that people are interested in you and your full portfolio, rather than trying to compartmentalizing it to one thing over another. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's a lot of information that will get me a lot further than just trying to pick at it. So,
Right. Let me know if you
um,
have any questions too. That was a
yeah.
lot. That's like a 2 hour conversation.
One thing I would say, and then I'll be quiet. um, I something I would love to know too. I remember hearing somebody once, just like a few months back, talking about how many hashtags and stuff that you should be using, and they were saying basically like use no more than four, and don't tag anybody in the actual post. If you need to tag somebody, tag them in the comments, and I always wondered if that actually, is there any truth to that? I get the keywords are more important than the hashtags based off of what you were saying earlier, which is, I mean, that's gold. That's awesome to know. So thank you for that. But as for like if we're going to use hashtags, is there anything with algorithms to watch out for? Like, if you use too many, it's going to flag you or something along those lines.
You got it. This is actually part of my algorithm workflow. I'm going to post. Sorry, now the algorithm workflow is basically a workflow that I will have in the alpha stages. I'm testing it out just to make sure that the way that I wrote it is universal across like a multitude of languages, and that I'm one person writing one thing, and I just want to make sure that everybody understands it. So I'll have that out in alpha, and if anybody's interested in being part of that, again, like Discord is going to have most of that. So if sorry,
Take a
hashtag.
second, take a second and chill your Patreon and the whole
Oh
nine
no,
yards. Yeah,
no,
just for
my
a second.
replays.
You got well, you've been so kind to take time out of your evening. The least we can do is support you. So
You got it. I appreciate you. I teach people all day how to talk about their own work, and again, don't really have my own marketing strategy because I spend all my day talking to you guys, which is not a bad thing. I love what I do, and the I'm not gonna cry. The amount of advocacy that this community gives me is incredible. So thank you, Joe. Hi, yes, I do have a Patreon where I drop all of my workbooks. I do have the first probably three, no, 2/5 of the Twitter workbook out right now, which does include most of the algorithm chapter, as well as everything that we've covered so far here. There's also an Instagram workbook and just a multitude of other things. And if you're interested in private conversations with me, I also do offer that too. Um, Link is in my bio, but it's patreon.com/Kino Elise if anybody does want to get their hands on that content. Thank you so much, Joe. I never talk about that. It's
not a
awkward for me.
problem. Talk with some of us don't like shilling our artwork either, so we
I
totally
know.
understand.
I can't even do it for my photography. I feel so weird about it.
Hey, thanks so much. I really appreciate the answers and everything. I'll definitely check into more of your work, and thank you again. I'm going to jump down though so that other people can pop up. But thanks again, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Real quick, let me answer your
Oh yeah.
question about hashtags. Because this one's quick. Usually I recommend that you have a general, a community, and a niche hashtag, all within one post. Specifically because hashtags actually work together. And the reason that you shouldn't have too many hashtags or too few hashtags is because the searchability either gets very confused if you use a ton of hashtags, or it's just not really pointed enough if you use too few. So if you use a general, community, and a niche hashtag, basically what you're doing within the search bar is making sure that you are appealing that content broadly, and narrowing it down all the way down to that niche content. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That again, there's a lot that you've just shared in the last like couple minutes that would have taken a very long time to figure out. So, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, and I look forward
Anytime.
to hearing everything else.
Yeah, thanks for the questions.
Cryptox, do you have a question?
Yeah, so as far as links, I've heard like mixed like answers on this, like whether or not it's like beneficial to having a link going off of Twitter, like an external link such as like OpenSea or Foundation or wherever you're doing your NFTs.
Yes, Pharma had brought that up, and I was going to be asking about that. Yeah, Pharma had brought that up. So external links and how they actually affect your tweets, engagement, and impressions. As far as that goes, internal links versus external links, that sort of thing.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, we hear you.
Sorry,
I
go
don't
ahead.
know who that was.
Go ahead, Kino.
Not sure. Okay. So links inside of your tweets. Let me set some foundation real quick. Twitter, as well as most other social media platforms, want you to stay on their social media platforms. This is so they can show you more advertisements. User retention is basically number one so that they can show you ads. So, Twitter, as well as the algorithm, of course, disincentivizes you from linking off of Twitter by making sure that it punishes you when you link out. Um, but that doesn't mean that I think that you should not do it. There are particular reasons that it is okay to post links. And that is specifically when you are appealing to something that is happening right now. So, for example, if you are a streamer or you have a space happening right now, or something that's happening like off platform in your Discord or something, then please, yes, link it within that tweet. Um, but if you're looking for anything that has longevity and you want organic reach, then I highly recommend putting that link below or letting people know that that link is in your bio specifically. And there's one more thing too, within your pin tweet specifically. I don't have a direct answer for this because collectors have given me a multitude of answers. Um, but here's the problem with pinned tweets is that and what collectors have said is that pinned tweets, because of its high visibility on your profile, that means that you want whatever link is available to be very accessible. But if your link is in your bio, then you don't necessarily have to have the redundancy of the link in that pinned tweet, as well as in your bio. So and also, excuse me, a pinned tweet is going to have more of that discoverability if you don't link it, obviously. So there's like this gentle balance between your pinned tweet because of the visibility as well as discoverability. So I don't have a direct answer for that. But I'm sorry, let me get to collectors too. Collectors have said that, I'm sorry, some collectors have said rather that they don't want to have to click on the second tweet. They want the link to be ready and available immediately so that they can click over to whatever platform you're selling your NFTs on. Um, but obviously, if you do that, then the algorithm is going to punish you for doing that. So the jury is out a little bit when it comes to that. So what I recommend doing is having your pin tweet, as well as, sorry, having your pin tweet where you have introduced and led the collectors through whatever your collection is, and having the link at the very end, as well as, of course, having your link in your bio too. And then throughout your marketing tweets on the timeline, if you do have something that is happening right now, go ahead and link it. But if you want any discoverability and organic reach on it, then make sure that you're putting it in the second tweet.
Okay. And I had one more thing. Joe showed me about the QR codes, how you could link them. Do QR codes also get affected if you attach them to an image? Does Twitter have a way to read that it's taken to an external link?
It does not, unfortunately. It does count as an external link.
Okay. Thank you.
Sneaky Twitter. Kay has been patient with her hand up. Kay, what's going on?
Hey, DJ. Thank you. So I have a question regarding the hashtags part where you said if I use a hashtag, say for example, your example was NFT community, and so if there is a tweet on my profile with highest engagement, that will show up, that will have more weightage, and it will show up on the top. So that the engagement is relative to my profile, or is it relative to the hashtag um, we are using?
Let me repeat the question just to make sure I understood. Are you asking if the hashtag itself has engagement and that's what's going to make it show up higher on the search bar?
um yeah, kind of. Or is it relative to the number of followers? How is the engagement related, I'm saying? when you say heavy engagement, how do you relate it to a particular hashtag or any keyword search when someone is
So
searching with it?
got it. So engagement, just to give you the formula, real quick, is the comments, retweets, likes, as well as bookmarks, which is like kind of sneaky, divided by the number of impressions that a tweet has times 100. And that's how Twitter calculates whatever your engagement rate is. How it relates to hashtags is that when you search for something like NFT community, if that particular, excuse me, if that particular tweet has a higher engagement metric over a specific amount of time, which is a whole, that's a TED talk. That's a whole thing that we can dive into a little bit later as far as timing is concerned. But anyway, sorry. The search bar is going to rank content higher if it has a higher engagement rate. And that's really the only thing that it has to do with that hashtag is really what you have searched for. But also there is a something to consider with hashtags, and that is the relationship between how many people are using it and how many people are searching for it. Now, what I was saying last year for broad communities like photography, for example, is that hashtags in the NFT community specifically don't have a lot of relevancy because NFT community was really the only niche that existed. But now, this year, we're seeing a lot of separation between communities where now AI art has a lot of searchability as well as its own community. Photography and like landscape photography, black and white photography, all of these different genres now have a lot of separation. So, part of the reason that hashtag research is such a pain in the butt is because you do need to recognize that within all of the hashtags that you are using, other people are using it too. And if their tweets have better engagement than yours does, then you do have a danger of that tweet getting basically lost within the search bar, which can be a lot. Let me pause there. Does that answer your initial question?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Which again, sorry, is why I also recommend having those three different types of hashtags, because that will give better relatability in the search bar, but you also have at least three different chances of showing up for those three different hashtags rather than using like big broad ones where that content can get just absolutely lost.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Kino.
Anytime. Thanks for the question.
Before we go to Sid, just want to let you know that you're under no obligation to talk for any set amount of time. So whenever you've had enough, you just let us know.
Oh, we are
Um,
at the hour. Thank you. But
Sid,
no, I'm
if
fine. I'm chill.
all right, then Sid, go ahead.
Hello, good evening. I don't know what time is it in US. Um, I have a very straightforward question. There is a lot of, I've heard rumors about there is something like a golden hour or golden day in a week as well, when the tweets are the most efficient. Is there a truth in it?
I mean, for me, it's Tuesday. But it actually depends. Sorry, that's always a very difficult question to answer because I don't know who your target audience is. So if you have identified who your audience is and reflected back on your engagement metrics, then we can have a more informed identifier for what day is the best. However, there was actually a cool tool that was just recently introduced to Twitter. If you're on desktop specifically, if you're on the homepage, you can hit on the left hand side, go to more and media studio. A lot of people don't know you can literally stream on Twitter, but they've also just recently introduced new insights. Before, we didn't really have any aggregate data on anything as far as your audience is concerned. But if you go to Media Studio and then audience, you actually have this really big graph now about when your followers are most active. And through that, you have specific days as well as times that will be blacked out. And that will actually tell you when your audience has engaged with Twitter at large, not necessarily your account, but when your audience is specifically active and engaged on Twitter. So if you do want to know when the best times are or when the best days are, that is now the best way to tell immediately. Does that answer your question, Sid?
Yep, thank you. This was great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Anytime.
Hey there. I just noticed, I just went to more, but I don't see that option. Are they phasing it in slowly?
No, Media Studio has been available for many years. More and Media Studio. It's right underneath analytics.
Yeah, mine doesn't show that for
Oh,
some reason.
that's weird.
Yeah.
Anybody
Is
else
that
not
on
have that?
is that
Yeah, I
on
don't have it
desktop?
either.
Yeah, it has to be on desktop.
Okay.
Is anybody else seeing that? Or is it just me?
Nah, I'm on Chrome browser and I don't see it either. I just have analytics.
That's weird. I'm on Chrome too.
I have it on mine, and I'm on Chrome.
That's so weird
I
because
don't know.
Media
Maybe
Studio.
Twitter has some other secrets going on.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, because yeah,
So-
Media Studio has been available for like I don't 10 years.
So if I could follow up with that hashtag, when you're using a hashtag and you're typing in, let's say AI artist, it'll as you start typing, it'll start bringing up the search similar hashtags, and I noticed that there are times where it'll show next to a hashtag the number, let's say 750, or another will have 250. What I've been doing is I've been taking those because it's showing for me that there's some sort of activity with those. Is that how it works? Is that what's happening? If you are trying to use a hashtag and you don't see any following number alongside the hashtag, does that mean that for that particular time, nobody's doing any searches for that hashtag? There's no engagement for that hashtag and so on?
Eclectic, you're a smarty pants. Yes, it does. Over a specific set amount of time. So timing is one of the factors of the algorithm, and it can be very difficult to identify exactly what the timing is. Specifically because Twitter does not work with a strict adherence to a specific amount of time. So specific things can just suddenly trend after they've literally been available for like 3 years. Whereas Instagram, things will only trend within a very specific set amount of time. So I can't tell you exactly what that timing parameter is, but yes, it does mean that within some set of amount of time, it has started to trend and people have started using it, which means that that is usually a very good time to capitalize on that specific hashtag.
Perfect, thank you.
So I would have one specific one. When it comes to tagging other Twitter profiles, i.e., like the tag an artist friend or tag all your friends posts that turn into 3-day long chains. Um, I noticed personally that I had had a pretty good spell of engagement and then had been pulled into one of those, and then my following posts for the next day or two just kind of fall on their face. Is there any credence to that?
Give me the parameters one more time because I heard an inconsistency.
So I held that the show, we did put that showcase together, and my engagement was really high through all of that. I would kind of follow my analytics. The following day, one of the share your work, tag some friends posts comes through, and I shared some work and tagged a couple people. Well, for the next 2 to 3 days, that post blew up like crazy, So my notifications were nothing but basically from that. I mean, like hundreds a night. So then the next day when I went to do my normal posts, there was like zero engagement on them.
Okay. So like I said before, you definitely run a danger of overtraining the algorithm, but it works the opposite way too, where if you engage with people who are so outside of your community or your target audience, then the algorithm can absolutely be trained in that direction as well. And because you, I would imagine, have very much trained your account towards AI artists, that means that whoever you're engaging with in this, like, arguably, technically, sort of, for the sake of argument, anonymous thread, that means that you're algorithmically now relating your content to literally everybody inside of that thread. And the you can kind of tell who it's relating to if you go into go comment on it, and below that you'll see some blue text that will have like all of the different people and their usernames that you're being associated with. So if you are going to engage in a thread that is that involves a lot of different people, I highly recommend that you vet the accounts that you are engaging with and make sure that they are at least loosely associated with your target audience, so that you don't train your algorithm in a direction that you don't want it to go. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely, and that actually puts a lot of logic behind why the change would occur. It's not so much being penalized as now it's sending my engagement in a whole different direction from what my target would normally be. So
Yeah, I don't like to think of the algorithm as this like beep boop robot overlord that's like trying to punish us for our behaviors on Twitter. I rather like to think about it as a kid who is like wandering the house and picking up whatever it thinks we might be interested in, and it holds it up to us and it says, hey, do you like this? And if we engage with it, then it's going to want to show us more of that stuff. Because that's basically what it does. Is as long as you are minding your own behaviors and making sure that those behaviors align with whatever your goals are, then heck, your goals are going to be realized. We just needed, I think, this information out there to know exactly how to engage with the algorithm so that it becomes our friend rather than an entity that punishes us for engaging with people on Twitter.
well, with that, it totally makes sense too, because the post was not like an AI art specific. So you had traditional photography. I mean, it was all across the NFT spectrum through the whole thing. So that does make sense.
Yeah, and again, because you're engaging with the photography community, you're going to probably be related to more photography related content. Like, the algorithm works both ways. It exposes your content to the people who you're engaging with, and exposes their content to you as well. So again, one way to manage the algorithm or see where it's being directed towards is to check on your own timeline and see what the algorithm is giving you. Because if it's not showing you like collectors or your own community, then you probably need to make sure that you are seeking out AI content, whoever you're interested in, engaging with that, and just retraining the algorithm in the direction you want it to be.
So to actually almost specifically target collectors, I mean,
So what's kind of fun about that is that as more people, more communities are adopted into the NFT community, collectors are going to be much more identifiable. They're not right now because there's just not enough of them here, and like readily identified as far as those keywords are concerned. But also, so many people use the phrase collector within their own tweets that it's not feasible to really seek them out. But in the future, I definitely see a lot of separation. So finding collectors is going to be a much easier job then.
it's interesting. So you've pretty much delved into most of what I had jotted notes down to ask you about. Do any of our speakers up here have any further questions, or do you have anything you'd like to add specifically, Kino?
Well, I know Cryptox has a question. He had his hand up.
Fire away, Cryptox.
Yeah, I was wondering. So I know a lot of people here, especially like newer artists and all, when you're trying to expand your reach and like with groups and all that, when we're retweeting people. I mean, is there like a fine line with like retweets when you're kind of just when you're retweeting all kinds of different art, whether it's photography or um, AI art, or I mean, there's so many different genres and different things. Like, how does that affect the algorithm?
So retweets, but specifically quote retweets and quote retweets with rich media, are the strongest engagement metric on Twitter. And if you are retweeting, quote retweeting, or quote retweeting with rich media, a lot of content that is outside of your community or your target audience, then yes, you can totally train your algorithm in a direction that you do not want it to go. However, if you are again like intentional and balance that, Twitter is such a friendly, retrainable platform that there's no reason I think that you have to be extremely strict like Instagram and only engage with particular content. So just by again managing your timeline and making sure that it's showing you the content that you want to be shown to, I think it's more than safe for you to retweet photographers and people that are outside of your target audience. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and yeah, it was just for me. It worried me because I felt like there's a lot of things that affect it, and there's a lot of different genres that I'm interested in outside of like what I do exactly.
Definitely. And what I did before I really dove into the NFT community was something I call community hopping, which we didn't really talk about when it comes to multi-genre artists, but let me just dive into that real quick. Um, what's so fun about Twitter's algorithm is that you can effectively make your algorithm so sensitive that you can engage with particular sets of content for about 10 minutes and voila, magically, not really magically, scientifically, be in front of whatever target audience you want to be. So, for example, with my brand, the way that it used to be, I would my algorithm was so sensitive to Twitch streamers, digital artists, and the NFT community, such that all that I would need to do to hop into the next community is engage with them, and then my content would be in front of them and be advertising my Patreon to them, blah blah blah. Um, so you can definitely do that if you wanted to, but just to go back to the first anxiety real quick, the engagement metrics ranked by order of impact are likes, comments, and then those retweet metrics. If you are using quote retweet with rich media, i.e., uploading a GIF, a still, or a video to your quote retweets, then that is going to be that is going to have much heavier influence than if you just comment or like on like photography posting, for example. So please feel free, go engage with other artists, make sure that you're supporting other genres and exposing your content to them, and vice versa too. um, Again, I'm so optimistic with Twitter because we're able to share communities, as well as this heavy community value with literally everybody, and not have to worry so damn much about the algorithm like other platforms.
Awesome, thank you.
Foley, I've seen your hand go up and down once or twice. Go ahead.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you so much. This has been really, really awesome to listen to. I have a bunch of questions, but I'll try to limit it to just like one or two, and I may follow up with you offline. But one one of the questions that I have was about 4 months ago, I tried to do a paid advertisement on Twitter through Twitter, and I ended up getting myself in their like really, really jail celled penalty box. And so I'm curious if like what other effects that has on me and my account, if anything, if there's a period of time they I guess because I referenced NFTs, they put me in the financial products, timeout box, and I think I'm still in it. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I'm in there with you, buddy.
Okay. And then my second question, which I think is a more relevant question, is I'm launching a YouTube channel to talk about purpose and positivity. And with the comment you made earlier around, Twitter doesn't want people escaping to other sites. Do you have kind of tips for best ways to incorporate that YouTube um, experience marketing into the Twitter platform? Because I don't have any YouTube followers, so my idea would be leveraging what I've already built here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, anytime. And thank you for the questions. Okay, so what's really interesting about advertising is that advertising actually doesn't do anything with the algorithm, specifically because advertising is the only way to bypass the algorithm. Um, so what you do basically is upload what's called metadata to Twitter, and you say, "Hello, Twitter. I would like to get directly to this particular audience." And because you have paid for it, there's no algorithmic value there because it literally doesn't use the algorithm. So but excuse me, you mentioned that you might be jail sailed specifically because of financial products. Do you mean that you feel like your algorithm is messed up, or
No,
did Twitter basically put like a flag on your advertising account?
yeah, they put a flag on my advertising account,
Oh no.
so
Yeah, I'm sorry to
I
hear.
they wouldn't take my money. So I tried like 3 or 4 times, and then they said, "You're not listening to me. Go away." So
Oh no. Okay. Um. Well, I
Yeah,
can. Yeah.
my experience was I if you use the word NFT, and at
yeah,
that point it Twitter bans the promoting for NFTs, and it says you could ask for special permission, but like you said, if you contact them, they don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't do that anymore, but well, unless you have like a DAO or some sort of financial kickback, then yes, they do monitor that. Sorry, big old asterisk on what I just said. They allow advertisements of like the physicality of NFTs. But yeah, if there is any sort of crypto investment or DAO or something that's attached to it, you're going to get flagged. Absolutely. But because they are now allowing NFTs to be promoted, I'm hoping that there is going to be some sort of retroactive appeal where you can write to Twitter and say, "Hey, I recognize that what I did was bad in the past. Is it okay if you give me back my damn advertising account?" So I would recommend writing them and see if that's a possibility. Again, like all I can do is speculate on that one right now until somebody does it and gives me feedback for it. But yeah, write Twitter, see if there is a means of reinstating that, because you can do it now. So I would hope that there is some sort of retroactive justice there.
thank you.
Yeah. And second question too, I have ADHD, so let me read what I said. Oh, YouTube on purpose and positivity. Well, first of all, congratulations on starting a new YouTube. That's so heckin' exciting. And it sounds like what you want to do is think about conversion. Conversion, again, like I have worksheets available in my Discord, so if you would like to download that, great. If you want the full workbook, it is going to be a full ass workbook. Eventually, I'm working very hard on them, and that will be on Patreon. Um, but what you want to do is think about the journey that people are going to take with your account and then get them onto YouTube. So, because you have quite a bit of followers, what you're going to want to do is think about introducing people to the concept of your YouTube, and then think about incentives to get people over there. And when we think about marketing, we usually think about it as this very top down, hi, I have a YouTube channel, or hello, I have an NFT collection. Please go support it. But that's not necessarily what marketing is. Marketing is an emotional means of identifying values and making sure that you are communicating those values to whoever your target audience is. The same thing works with NFTs as well, by the by. Um, so what I recommend doing is identifying, if you haven't already, the voice and tone of what your brand is, what your YouTube is going to be, and making sure that you are telling people, illustrating to them, if you will, what those values are on the timeline, and making sure that people understand a reason that they should convert to your YouTube. And then to that, we've already talked a little bit about using direct links. So I would make sure that, like, if you just posted a YouTube video, consider posting the link on that primary tweet. Otherwise, within those illustrative tweets, put the link, either tell people that the link is in your bio if that link is available in your bio, or put it in that secondary tweet so that you get organic reach on those tweets. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's really helpful. I love the incentive idea. The YouTube channel will be on my bio when it's ready to launch and be public. And I think I have been really honed in on my brand and purpose for a long time now. In fact, I kind of started NFTs and then realized that I had a whole different purpose in this thing, and so I believe I've set the stage well for that. But no, that's really, really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's so cool that you've already identified those foundations too, because those foundations just help you answer so many questions going forward. Um, but yeah, definitely think about conversion and how you're going to lead people to that YouTube through illustrating those values. And I think your YouTube has a bright future. I am so optimistic again. Like, I'm optimistic about Twitter and YouTube very specifically, but YouTube mostly because of that just easily passive income monetization element. So if you are like an educator, an entertainer, or something like that in the space, and you are interested in long form video content, I highly, highly recommend thinking very seriously about YouTube as a potential passive income generator. So it's really excited, Foley, and I'm very excited for you.
Thank you. Yeah, as soon as I get my lighting figured out, it's going to be awesome.
There you go. For free, you do a NFT series for your first 200 subscribers.
There you
Joe,
go.
before we move on to Pokemon, I just wanted to follow up with that secondary tweet she was referring to. So, when you say a secondary tweet, are you talking sort of an embedded tweet? For example, I'll take up my pinned, let's say, which has an outside link in it. And when I see a shill tweet and it says no links, I'll use that URL inside the comment to embed my pinned within there. So really within the tweet that they put out, I'm not putting in a link, but my URL that I put in there has a link in it. Is that what you're referring to when you say a secondary tweet, or is that an embedded tweet? Does that function any differently than putting an actual link or in the comment box instead of a URL in the comment box that takes them to my pinned?
Excuse me. No, it doesn't. What you're talking about is a differentiation of what's called cards. Cards have a different way of manifesting your links or embeds. And there's like a big difference between like audio embeds versus video embeds versus like Vimeo versus YouTube. There's a multitude of different types of cards. And unfortunately, because all of those involve off platform links, that means that it's going to do the same thing across the board. Wish it didn't. But what I'm talking about, excuse me, with comments and subtweets is just in that second link. So like you have your first link on the timeline where you will talk about whatever it is you want to convert people to. And then in the comments or that second tweet, that's where I recommend you put your link, specifically because the further down a tweet is, the less algorithmic value it has. Kind of a black hole subject. But yeah, the lower down a tweet is, the less algorithmic value that it has, which means it is now safer to link that tweet so that your first tweet does get that organic reach. Was that along the lines of what you were asking?
Yep. Perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, are you still good to answer a few more? Or?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, Okimon, what do you got?
Hey guys, awesome spaces by the way. Congratulations, this is amazing. And thank you so much, Kino, for everything. Super, super cool. So yeah, my question, I guess, is more like maybe like you can riff on what we're trying to do with our account, because it's, I feel like it's kind of a weird mid-range strategy that I can't really pinpoint, and so maybe you can help me figure out like a way to frame it, because we are a 10K collection project, but we behave like a one-on-one artist basically, right? So we really just like, we're super happy with the organic reach that we've been having, because yeah, basically we just haven't really like presented the project as it is. We just like hop from spaces to spaces and have interesting conversations with people. And as of right now, the algorithm is at a great point in terms of like showing us like all of our dear artist friends, like everyone in this room I have solid on our timeline, right? So I can always just like and retweet and just like interact whenever we can and have time. But then there's this sort of like yeah, I don't know if that puts us in a sort of like restricted like reach for like outer rims, right? Or if like keeping the mid-range strategy sounds like a good idea to you when you hear about a project like ours.
So great question. For a 10K project, because you obviously have 10,000 assets that you want to sell, generally that means that you want to have identified a broader audience than just the AI art community. As the AR art community grows, then obviously there is going to be more value there for a 10K project. But I think that restricting a 10K project to a smaller niche community is actually a danger. Absolutely. I'm looking at your post from 6 days ago with Chirpty. And a lot of people don't know that Chirpty. So Chirpty is the circle, and the circle with your avatar, and then you have like a whole bunch of circles that are around you of other people within the space. And what that is actually showing is literally how the algorithm is relating your content, or who it is most heavily relating your content to. And what I do see is a lot of AI art, a lot of things that I also don't recognize. But obviously, like Kevin's on there. We've got Jeremy that's on there. So I would think at least that, yeah, you're probably very heavily relating to the AI art community. And I would consider, if you do have that very heavy value, then making sure that you are, for example, engaging at least with like the photography community. We're in the AR art community, like Cuban art and things like that, like other communities that have that very heavy community value. I'm saying community way too much. That have what am I trying to say?
Would it be beneficial for them to target NFT community as a whole versus picking one specific art genre?
Not necessarily, no. Not without that niche value. So if we were to visualize what I'm talking about right now, the NFT community is a big old bubble of literally everybody who is involved with NFTs. That's a lot of heckin' people. And now we're seeing again that separation, but overlap. So AI art overlaps with NFT community, obviously. Sometimes it overlaps with photography. Sometimes it overlaps with Cuban art. So all of these different communities have their own bubble that maybe overlaps with each other, but all definitely overlaps with the NFT community. So by engaging with particular community types, you are getting some of that overlap as well as that broad overlap with the NFT community at large, mostly because not everybody knows how to train their algorithm. Um, so you're getting a lot of overlap. So I would make sure as a 10K project, if you do want to engage with specific communities, but still make sure that you do have reach and variation, then make sure that you are maybe one day engaging with AI art, maybe another day doing the photography community, and just varying it a little bit. And again, like we can have this conversation about hyper training your algorithm and making it so sensitive that you can community hop. But that's a very involved conversation. But definitely one that would be worth having for your account in particular, because you are so involved with all of these different communities and have that very personal touch, if you will, across Twitter. I think it's an amazing strategy. That's a fantastic strategy. Absolutely think it would work, but do make sure that you are varying the communities that you're engaging with.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's actually, yeah, that's what we're trying to do. And thank you for cementing, the intuition. And we're definitely gonna do that. And I will keep you posted. I'm gonna try to be more active on your Discord and and try to retweet and like get the word out there about what you're doing, because it really is fantastic. Thank you so very much.
Literally anytime, and good luck with the project. Yeah, let me know, keep me in the loop, because I don't see a lot of brands having that like very personal presence with people too. So yeah, keep me in the loop, please, please.
Right, just to hop in, everybody that hasn't should go follow Kino as at the very least for putting on this presentation. And then I see you're monetized, so you guys should all leave her a tip. Um,
You spoil me.
we are absolutely honored to have you come in and drop all these knowledge bombs.
I'm just happy to be here. I always enjoy the AI art community so much. Like that space where we were running around. Was it Spatial that we were in?
Yes,
That was
yes, that
so much
was
fun.
the gallery show we had put on.
I actually picked up a few pieces anonymously, and I'm
Oh,
very
nice,
happy.
nice. So then actually there was a few sales because I think Drew had sold one that night too. So that's cool.
But yeah, thank you for
Gabe,
having me, Joe.
not a problem. Does anyone else have any further questions, or I'd
Well,
like to schedule you back for an advanced class in the future for
I'd
sure.
love that. Yes, please.
I do want to say real quick, Kino, I have seen you around a couple other spaces and heard you speak before. And if you haven't been told already, I just want to say thank you for everything you do for the community, not just AI, but NFTs in general. Like, I've seen a lot of people implement the kind of stuff you've been sharing, and it's definitely helped so many of them, myself included. So thank you for all that you do, and keep it up.
Thank you for coming up to say that. Do I say your name, Gage?
That is correct. Perfect.
Gage, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm very vulnerable right now, and I'm not going to cry. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I appreciate spaces like this so much. Especially because again, like I don't get to talk to specific communities that often. So for Joe to have asked me here, it's an honor. Like thank you for having me, everybody.
It's been a pleasure to have you here, and I've been in a couple of your other spaces, and I'll say that the knowledge is consistent in every space. So being in, regardless of the space you're in, what you're sharing is the same thing in every space. And I've been in spaces where people ramble on about stuff, and the inconsistencies is kind of funny. But you've been very consistent with everything that you've been sharing from the spaces that I've been in that you were in previously. So that really, for me, means a lot. It means you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about, and like they say, a lie is something so difficult to remember, but the truth is the easiest thing to say over and over and over and over again. So for me, hearing the consistency means a lot.
Oh, damn, that's powerful. Thank you. Woo, um, like I was telling Gage before, yeah, in a vulnerable moment right now where imposterism is kicking my ass, and I feel sometimes like the consistency is boring, and like people don't care anymore because what I'm saying is all of the same stuff. But also recognizing again that like social media is a rabbit hole, and we barely touch the surface in a lot of these things. So that's just very validating, eclectic, like thank you. Just about to go through a major life change, and to be in a space that is just so comfy and welcoming, and in this community is a privilege. Thank you for having me.
All right, well, we can continue, or you
Let's
can.
go.
Does anybody else have any more directed questions? DJ in the audience here, we'll bring him up and see. DJ Frost, do you have a specific question?
It's DJ Frost in the building. Hey, hey, hey.
Hello, do you have a question?
Yeah, dude, I got a question for you. Can I ask you a question, man?
Well, it depends on whether you're trying to troll us or you actually have a
Dude,
legitimate
I have a
question.
real good question, man. What do you like to eat? Sea kelp or seagrass?
That was thoroughly
The
entertaining
punch.
for about 3 seconds.
I was actually giving him a chance to come up with a punch, but he didn't really have one. So
No, I kind of gave the boot there, so I was ready for that one.
we've had a decent few trolls that you actually get a good laugh out of. So usually we let them hang themselves before they don't get the
Yeah.
response from us that they get from normally like spaces. It's a
But
very relaxed response usually.
Yeah, but the space has been so positive, didn't want to spoil it.
No, absolutely. It was a lot better than the last question we were asked by a random.
What was that? Or was it wasn't
If
that? Never mind.
do we know what the something to do with the coding of what DN was? And we fell for it hook, line, and sinker. We actually passed the question off to I passed it off to Pharma because Pharma's super educated in the AI side of things. So I'm like, oh, maybe that's a good question for Pharma. And poor Pharma fell right into it, and he asked him to reiterate, and it was, of course, these nuts.
These nuts.
But he worked for it too, because he spent about 10 minutes working up to getting, and he burned us all. We laughed about that one for quite a while though.
That's amazing. See, trolling's funny when it's a long game.
You got to respect the art form.
Well, see, and we, like I said, we don't have the typical response because most of us are a little older. So sometimes it can be funny because it actually kind of turns it back around on them. Dr. Mindset, what is going on?
Hi, thanks for the great, spaces. So I have a question regarding using multiple accounts to advertise or to, push your tweets or your content. And another one is, I think somebody already asked this, but regarding linking to your websites. If I have a material that I specifically need or want to promote, is it better to host it on my website and then link to it, or is it better just to include an image and I guess forward in the bio or something? Now, so there's two questions. One is using multiple accounts to promote content, and another one linking to your bio or and also about these link tree kind of accounts that people often use in their bio. Are those better than using your own website to spider out to other communities or larger communities? That's the question.
You got it. I'm not sure I understand the first one. So using multiple accounts to promote content. What is your thought process between or behind rather needing multiple accounts to promote?
Well, I have multiple accounts. This is one I use mostly is this one, but I did set up one around my website, and it has the same website name and a giant monster. And and then I have another one. A few years ago, I was doing this had this slightly comical content that I was putting out, and then I have a third one where I had a short film that I made and that I was promoting on that. But then I just consolidated it all pretty much under this account and started just using this account to do it. But oftentimes people launch separate accounts to promote separate projects. Is there an advantage to doing that and then using all your accounts to promote or to retweet those tweets?
Perfect. Okay, that answered my question. Thank you. Part of the reason we usually recommend a multitude of accounts is if there is a very big difference in branding, specifically with voice and tone. And if you have very different projects and you don't want to brand yourself as a personal account or a personal brand, then yes, I usually recommend you make multiple accounts. What I mean by a personal brand is that you are effectively the personality that is behind all of the work that you do, versus the product or the art is itself the brand. And so yeah, if you have a wide variance between those, usually it's better to have multiple accounts. Now, if you have a multitude of genres that you want to represent, but you still want to maintain a very front-facing personality behind it, then I think it's okay to have a single account. But you have to make sure that there is some sort of consistency, and that consistency is usually you yourself as the artist. If that element is missing because your content is super duper branded, then again, separate those different brands. Does that answer your first question?
Yeah, that does sound. But in separating it, and if I also promote it with all the different accounts, is there an advantage to using that? I mean, each account would have a slightly different community, and it wouldn't penalize it, but would be advantageous.
It could penalize it because you could alienate your audience. Most audiences follow an account because they know what to expect. They follow you for a very particular reason, i.e., the art that you're putting out there, the brand, the strategy, whatever it might be as far as your marketing is concerned. Alienating your audience is a very real problem when you have a multitude of genres or multitude of products. And also, algorithmically speaking, if you are appealing a very a wide variance of art of target audience, then managing that account can be very difficult for people who are inexperienced with marketing. So it's definitely easier to have multiple accounts for your multiple genres. But as far as a downside is concerned, if you know how to manage it, then there really isn't. But if you don't know what you're doing or you're not very intentional with your marketing, then yes, you can absolutely screw up your account as well as alienate your audience.
Okay. Good.
Should I go to your second question?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Reading my notes. Oh, linking to a website or Linktree. So just to remind myself, you asked if you rather should link directly to your website or should you use a Linktree. Was that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Um, So a link tree is super duper helpful because it can give you a multitude of platforms for people to choose from. But there is a problem that I see a lot of artists engage with, and that is that they will link literally everything on their link tree. The reason that that is something to usually steer away from is because of choice paralysis. Choice paralysis is where you have given your collectors, your buyers, whoever you're trying to convert, too many choices. So now they don't want to do anything. And that's usually because you have just inundated them with choices, with text, with things to do, instead of making it very clear what you want them to do. And this also shows up with a lot of collector feedback, specifically when we're talking about the DMs. Collectors have said that when you DM them, they don't know what you want them to do. You basically just like tell them about your project in the DMs, but you don't use a call to action. A call to action is where you basically tell them, hey, please go look at my NFT collection. Please go buy my NFT collection. I think you'd be interested in this particular piece. Would you please support it? Like following up with that intentionality is super important. And that also reflects within your link tree. So by making sure that you are not giving people a huge menu, you are affecting a means of a call to action, especially when complemented by your tweets. So I highly recommend narrow down on the specific goals that you have within that link tree. If you want to use it, don't give them too many choices. And like, I have anxiety. I want to give everybody every single thing that I offer all of the damn time, but that's not effective. So do not channel my anxiety. Make sure that you are identifying what your goals are and leading them directly to it. Now, regarding whether or not you use a website or a link tree, kind of the same concept is as long as you have a particular goal with that website, then I recommend using a website over a link tree, specifically because a website is much more controllable. You can also collect data and emails and things like that from people and really make sure that your website is affecting the longevity of your brand. So through a website, I recommend that much higher than a link tree, but websites obviously cost money and you need to manage it and maintain it. It's a lot more labor. So if you don't have the time or the money to invest in a website, then a link tree, I think, is a very good second option. Does that answer your question, Mindset?
Yes, thank you very much. Great.
All right. Before we go to Gage, I would like to add, if you are gonna DM somebody that is a collector potentially, make sure that it's asked for. Don't do the unsolicited DMs. That could be a huge turnoff to a lot of people. So if somebody asks you questions, definitely do everything she said, but don't just DM people and try to push your work on them. It's a
Yeah,
bad
should have put
look.
an asterisk on that. I didn't want my ADHD to run with it, but yeah,
Not a
you're right.
problem. Not a problem. That's just from personal, like being in the community long enough and hearing some of the bigger collectors. I mean, that's tends to be one of their big no-nos. So,
Yeah, I mean, like I think it's okay if you have established a relationship with them. Like if you guys are sharing each other's grandma's cookie recipes, then great. If you want them to
right.
support your art because you know that it appeals to them, great, do that. Otherwise, just like anonymously showing up in somebody's DMs randomly, you're right, Joe. Don't do that.
Yeah. Unless you're asking them to come to your space.
What if we
Gage,
hold hands and you collected my NFT and we went to a space together?
there you go. Gage, what's up, bud?
All right, so I had a question, Kino. If you happen to notice if uh, I don't want to use the word punish, but if the algorithm kind of like punishes or like represses multiple media posts within a window, within a certain window of time. For context, I make pretty heavy use of buffer campaigns. I don't overdo it, but I found them incredibly useful. And I have one campaign set up for marketing my NFTs, my products, and then a separate campaign designed specifically to boost engagement. And while the one that boosts engagement has definitely been doing its job lately, I've noticed that once it starts racking up numbers, the engagement on my previous marketing post plummets after that. And I was just wondering if you had any comments on that.
Sounds like the timing factor. The timing factor, again, is a factor of the algorithm that is passive, meaning you cannot affect it, except through passive means like engagement. And because of that factor, and also because Twitter is very good at sorting content, that means that it's going to prioritize your content that is more heavily engaged with on the timeline. And also, it's going to default sharing that content to include people who do not follow you. So part of the reason you're getting that heavy engagement is initially probably because your own community is engaged with it, and it's not suppressing that other one, but it's definitely prioritizing it because of that very heavy engagement. Um, I recognize that that's a pain in the butt, which is also why I recommend. Actually, let me ask you, are you posting that content very close to each other in timing proximity, or are they like hours away from each other, even days?
They're several hours apart. I could perhaps be splitting them further throughout the day. I'm just trying to hit the windows that I've seen in my analytics have the highest rate of engagement, but I do acknowledge that trying to hit those specific hours might be doing more harm than good when I have multiple media tweets. Do you think?
It's possible. I'd rather look at the engagement rather than skeptical is so not the word. My brain is starting to die. We're an hour and 40 minutes past. I'm so sorry. I'd rather look at your engagement so that we can make a more informed observation, but that's definitely a possibility. But regarding timing, I usually recommend that people do have some separation, timing separation rather, between when they tweet, specifically so their tweets can get that engagement before your next tweet comes along, and does kind of kill the engagement that is on that tweet beforehand. So to answer your question plainly, it does make sense that that original tweet is getting less engagement. I wish that was not so, but there is a balance there. And that balance is that you can go back in and engage with your own tweets and basically restart up the engagement on that tweet. And because the timing factor, again, isn't restricted to like the first hour or something like that of the tweet's lifetime, because you've started that engagement back up, you can effectively refresh it and cause that tweet to continue getting that same engagement. Does that make sense?
For sure, for sure. So I'll definitely try making that window a bit larger in between my tweets and see if that helps boost
Yeah.
or yeah.
And
Thank
between
you very
that
much.
too, yeah, anytime. Between that too, feel free to like comment on other tweets, retweet, and engage on Twitter. I would just make sure that there is some space between your original tweets specifically.
For sure, for sure.
Is that space like hours or days?
It depends. Or I'm sorry, no. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say days. ADHD blacked that out. No, not days. I usually recommend a minimum of 45 minutes between original posts, especially if you want that very heavy organic reach. Especially with your marketing posts. Like engagement posts function very differently than your marketing posts. So I recommend doing your engagement posts first thing and then doing your marketing tweets about 45 minutes later, if not a little bit more, depending. But also because the media studio, oh my God, I think you said you don't have the media studio. But when you do have the media studio, keep an eye out for that, because that will give you that aggregate data of when your audience is online and engaged with Twitter. And that will give you a much better idea of when your best post times are.
And as a quick follow-up to that, would you, is it, in your opinion, more optimal to have the marketing tweets first earlier in the day so that when people do like come to my profile, they see those near the top, or would it be better to put those after the engagement post and hope that that kind of boosts the engagement on that post later throughout the day?
So, what I have found to be most effective is first thing in the morning, you post a memetic device. A memetic device is not just a meme, it's like GM or some sort of community engagement that is memetic. It's repetitive, it has emotional value, and usually gets heavy engagement. I call it taking my algorithm for a quick walk before I really start engaging with Twitter. So post a memetic device first thing, then post something that is heavily engaging so that your algorithm is primed and ready to show whatever content you have coming towards, excuse me, towards whoever has engaged with that post, and then follow up with the marketing post, so that again people are primed and ready to engage with that, but so is the algorithm as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Anytime. Good question, by the way. I never talk about that.
All right. Well, we have about 5 minutes for the normal duration. So if anyone has a last question for her, if not, we will just switch over to our normal chit chat, which she is more than welcome to stay for. But we will quit beating you with Twitter questions.
I am so
But we would,
surprised my brain is alive right now. Thank you for having me. This has just been such a
but we
couple of
would
days.
definitely love to have you back, especially if we can get into some more of the deeper rabbit holes on specific topics or something along those lines. I mean, we could definitely set that up for later.
I'd love that.
Well, I do have one last question, and I'm not sure if it's anything that has anything to do with what you've been doing, but I'm guessing with all the spaces that you've done, you might have picked up some knowledge on collectors. What is a big no-no when a collector visits your profile?
When they visit your profile specifically, that they have communicated to me, that would be lack of accessibility, like easy accessibility to your NFT collection specifically. Like I said before, they usually want to make sure, or rather they want their life to be as easy as possible. So you should make sure that like your OpenSea is readily available either on your bio, in your pinned tweet, or immediately available in something like your link tree. That's what I've heard is the biggest complaint. Um, and I guess I would probably agree with that, but that depends. If your primary goal of Twitter is to sell NFTs, then I would completely agree with that.
How about your actual feed when they're going through and if they're looking to see your artwork and see all retweets instead of your own work? Is that a negative for them? Or does that work as a positive to show that you have community behind you?
See, that's hard because a lot of collectors, or rather, every single collector has very different values. And some of them have absolutely communicated that they do want to see you supporting the rest of the community through retweets and things like that. But some of them have also the philosophy of I like it, I buy it. So I think that I personally think, I mean, scientifically think too, is that it is within your best interest to be interested in other people. Algorithmically speaking, you should be retweeting people. You should be commenting on things, specifically because that reach also gets you reach to your collectors. So by doing that, you're doing yourself a favor as well as appealing to the collectors who do want to see you supporting other artists. I do recommend having a there's sorry, I do recommend a specific formula when it comes to the amount of content on the amount of content rather that you retweet versus the amount of marketing posts that you have, and that is 80 to 20, which I know can be condensed to 1 to 4. Anyway, that's sorry, four posts that are retweets or comments, I'm sorry, oh my god, my brain is literally dying. I'm sorry, it's late for me. Tweets that are retweets or engaging posts for like the community versus one marketing post. And that's specifically because it has algorithmic appeal, but also making sure that within your timeline you are doing a marketing, making sure that collectors do see your collection and the value of your collection, so that they're not having to just like endlessly search through your timeline to see that content. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, but it's, based on what you said in the beginning too, that if you have a link to your website, if you have a link to Linktree, or you have the links to OpenSea, I guess the collectors are just getting a little lazy here, because if you provided them the links to those places where they can go see your work, then the only thing that they should be concerned about, or not concerned about, but interested in, is seeing that you do have people in your community, people that you follow, that follow you, that you engage with on a regular basis. If the links are supposed to be providing them with that, then at least the feed should show that you are part of a community. You do have a family behind you that you support and supports you.
Right. And that's why it's so difficult to ask, because again, there is so much variation in what those values are. So I think that by practicing that 4 to 1 post, you are making sure that you are appealing both to lazy collectors as well as collectors who do want to see that community value. And by making sure that those links are available in your bio or your link tree or your pin tweet, again, you're making sure that you're making their life as easy as possible. I recognize that like it is a delicate balance, and you're trying your best to make sure that you are following their instructions, but also recognize that not everybody can be pleased. So just make sure that I think at least make sure that you are appealing to the collectors who are interested in your work, and making their life as easy as possible, because there are so many different means of affecting your marketing. So just make sure that whoever you're listening to, if they are your target audience, then maybe if it applies to you, if it's easy for you, and applicable to you and your brand, then yes, follow those instructions. Otherwise, maybe they're just not your target audience. Maybe they're just not your buyers, and that's okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, everybody, take a second and open up your Twitters, go to Kino's profile and give her a follow. And click that little monetary box and send her a tip, because this was an absolute wonderful space and very informative. And we really do truly appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you for having me again. And yeah, if just to remind everybody, we talked about a lot of different concepts, and I do have worksheets that are available in my Discord if you'd like to roll in and download those. Excuse me, I got a froggy in my throat. Also, I'm taking a step back from a lot of my spaces to build, and I can't talk about a lot of things that I have coming. But any engagement that that you do have in Discord does count towards whatever is coming. And that also includes, like, if you have a question about social media at any time, please write it in the Discord. You have a business question, whatever it might be. That's literally what that Discord is for. And then on top of that, too, I do have my Patreon, where you can download all of my workbooks. I've got like affiliate spreadsheets and a ridiculous amount of information there that cost 15 heckin' dollars to 5.
Do
So yeah,
you
I mean, like,
have a tweet that we could pin up so that everyone can
no.
easily find that? Oh, come
Yeah,
on.
let me find one. Hang on. Like,
Gotta make it easy for people to spend their money. Come
I
on.
know I'm a hypocrite, Joe. Leave me alone. But yeah, I'll find that. But Joe, thank you so much for having me. This has just been like so wonderful and comfy, and I just appreciate this so much.
Not a problem, and like I said, we're glad that you graced us with your presence, and that's it. No more Twitter questions. Well, at least algorithm questions.
Trying
This
to
is a
trying to find that tweet for you. I'm sorry. 1 second. This is like angry that that you're like
and,
helping me out here.
And if ever there was a day you wanted to talk about the more technical sides of everything we discussed, this is definitely the group for it. Everybody tends to be quite on the tech savvy side, so falling down rabbit holes is something we do well.
Good, good. Then we'll definitely do that next time. I also forgot that we can't pin things all of a sudden.
What?
Yeah.
They changed something?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a permafix or what's going on, but yeah, everybody's saying that they can't pin things anymore.
Yep, don't see that option.
Oh,
Nope.
what? I wonder if somebody was hurting somebody's feelings, or maybe it's something to do with all the shill posts or something.
I mean, possibly, yeah.
The I like to call them meat grinders.
You're
Some
not
of them,
wrong.
some of
But
the marketing. I mean, it's hard to really hate on them because it seems to work for some of them. But I mean, I've seen where they won't even let you speak on their spaces unless you buy from their basically from their speakers and you like purchase the right to shill on their spaces. It's just
yeah, shill spaces is a whole rabbit hole. But I think actually why they've taken the pin down, we didn't talk about this again, rabbit hole, is because spaces space so there are a couple algorithms on Twitter. When we talk about the algorithm, we're usually talking about the timeline algorithm, but there are a multitude of them. In other words, Spaces has one. And Spaces, the Spaces algorithm, when married with the timeline algorithm, is so heckin' powerful. And when you pin a tweet up above, effectively what you're doing is appealing to both the relationship factor of the algorithm as well as the interest factor of the algorithm, which hyper trains it. It's enormously effective for marketing and kind of bypassing the need for advertising. So I think they took it down because they have probably seen a bit of a dip in their advertising factor, specifically because of Spaces.
yeah, that would make sense. It was hurting their wallets a little.
Exactly.
And like you said earlier, these programs are designed to keep you on the screen as long as possible, and so that's why I think this spreading the tweets out over the day is more effective than cramming them all in for the first morning coffee session, because it wants you to keep coming back. So
User retention is number one. They want to show you those ads.
that's right. So, well, once again, thank you, and I don't want anybody to beat you with another question. Does anyone have anything else to share that's unrelated to what we've been talking about?
I've actually got to get going for the night, and just wanted to thank Kino again for everything she's done for us tonight, and thank you, Joe, for hosting the space.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming.
You all have a wonderful night.
It's good to see you, Gage.
See you, Gage.
I
Yes,
guess I
and
should probably head out and like give my brain a break and like have dinner and things like that. But the space is so comfy, I don't want to leave.
Well, you can eat while you're on the space. Everybody else does it.
Go relax.
This one, yeah, I was gonna say, take a break. You were on Spaces earlier. We listened to you on Retro earlier.
All these spaces are just so damn comfy. But yeah, thank you guys for having me again. Would love to dive down the rabbit hole a little bit more with you next time. So yeah, please talk to me about that, and let's schedule something out.
All right, and then anytime you're free on Tuesdays and Thursdays and evenings, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, we're here doing the same chit chat chill. So
you got it, and I'll come vibe in one of your next ones too, where you guys are just like rolling around spatial, because that was so much fun.
We're kind of have been starting discussions on the next step, so hopefully in the next couple weeks we'll have something figured out.
That's exciting.
But it was enough extra work that I lost like a week of work on my art, so I gotta catch back up.
Yeah, feels. Okay, let's catch up soon then. Thank you again for having me. Eclectic, lovely to see you. Pharma and Joe, thank you guys so much for hosting this.
Thank you again. Have a good evening.
Thanks again.
Ciao, ciao, friends.
Thanks, Kino.
Night.